Happy Friday! Welcome to the Scoop Order. My number one portal target just entered the portal. Does Ohio State have a shot at getting the best kicker in the entire country? A guy that I've been fiending for, talking about, saying, how can a kicker from Miami of Ohio be better than our guys? Won the Lou Groza Award, first team All-American last year. What a weapon he would be to add. I don't know how Ohio State does to close this one, but again, if they don't, I put that on the personnel department and the collectives because he is a weapon. He's the best kicker returning. He's going to be a draft pick in the NFL. And our kickers aren't great. So this will be a very interesting case study to see how much we can get done with NIL and with our recruiting at this point. As always, if you guys enjoy this content, please say like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Shout out to you guys who are watching from. Shout out to my Southern Ohio boys. We're going to be coming down to the Saddle River very quickly here, probably the next month. Join BuckeyeScoop.com. That's exclusive to BuckeyeScoop.com members. So if you guys want to go and have some ribs and some delicious steaks at Saddle River, be on BuckeyeScoop.com. We'll reveal the release date in the next couple weeks or so. We'll get down there. But we do that 1 or 2 times a year, and it's always a blast. So I'd love to have you guys down there. And if you guys are trying to plan out your weekend, we're going 7 each night. But this is the guy that I've wanted. I'm going to get right into it with Nevada. Graham Nicholson is the guy that I've talked about on this show. I never knew his name. I said the Miami of Ohio kicker probably 1,000 times over the last couple months. Because, again, he's from Cincinnati. So this isn't a kid from Australia or Europe or Mars or Uzbekistan. He's a Cincinnati kid. He entered the portal. He won the Lou Groza last year. He's a senior, so he's of age. He's kicked in a lot of games. Why would Ohio State not be at the top of his list if it's not possible? Because again, our kicking situation has been atrocious, and I put a lot of that on our special teams coordinator not being a great recruiter. But this kid entering 2024, which is this upcoming season, he won the Lou Groza. So he's the first guy in the history of the back to win the Lou Groza, which is the number one kicker in the country last year. 60 field goals made, 27 made. Last year was tops in school history for him at Miami, Ohio. First team All-American by basically every single publication: The Athletic, CBS Sports, USA, Walter Camp, College Football Network, Sporting News, Sports Illustrated, AP. He's in the portal. Again, I've complained enough about the lack of weaponry in our special teams room. Again, I think a lot of that's because of Parker Fleming and his ineptness, but this is a kid during Parker's reign who went to Miami of Ohio, which is insane. And he turned into the best kicker in the country. What would he add to Ohio State if he hit the portal? We pay a little bit of money, and we also acquired the best kicker in college football to Ohio State.
Well, look, you can talk all you want about portal QBs and portal tight ends and portal right tackles and Colson Love. I'm just saying, even more so than an elite tight end, I want a kicker. I want an elite kicker. I want somebody who's automatic. And this kid is the closest thing. His stats are absolutely obscene when you look at it. I don't have them in front of me, but you could probably spot them off for me. But it's like he missed like one field goal, it was just crazy what he did. And the fact that he's a hometown kid, he's right here from Ohio, he's right in our backyard, and kicking is one of those underrated things. Kicking, long snappers, punters, man, they never matter until they matter, and then they matter a ton. We saw it last year. People can talk all they want about the Georgia game, about how important kicking was in the Georgia game when we missed the field goal basically for the national championship. But I would submit that last year, the field goal that we missed at the end of the first half against Michigan was every bit as big. That changes the whole dynamic on that final drive. That final drive, you're not throwing to the end zone to try to score. You're throwing to try to set up a field goal, to try to set it up for overtime, maybe potentially win in regulation. It changes everything, changes all the play calling, changes everything that's going on, but we missed. And I'm not bagging on fielding. I'm not bagging on anybody that we have in our room in terms of our kickers, but they're not as good as this guy. And if you're going to win a national championship, and you're going to win a national championship in a 16 or 17 game season, you need to make it unfair. You need to be so much better than every other team in every area. You need to be better in coaching. You need to be better in special teams. You need to be better offensively, defensively, in your physical training, in your mental approach, everything. And having a kicker like this, I just think it's in a season like 2024 where you're trying to make it unfair, where you've got a legendary defense, you've got a chance to have a legendary offense on top of that. Why don't you just complete the troika and go get the best kicker in the country? Be a savage. He's right down the road. To me, this is like the no-brainer of no-brainers because it's right there for you. It is right there for Ohio State to do it. I think it would be a huge. I do not believe this would be a small move. I believe this would be an absolutely gigantic move for Ohio State, and I hope they mobilize. I hope they recognize the seriousness with it, and I hope that they mobilize the resources to go get him because like I said, I would be more excited about him than any other person that we could get in this portal season, and I mean that sincerely. So Ohio State, go get it done. This is the guy. And we're digging to find out how possible / credible / interested Ohio State is. But I know they listen to this show. So if you're listening to this show, I know you are. Go get this one done because this is a kid you're going to want to have on your team when those games are close and it comes down to the end. So get it done, Ohio State.
Yeah, like if we don't get this guy, I'd fire every collective guy and every personnel guy we have at Ohio State because this is as clear cut as it gets as an upgrade. Again, like when you're bringing a tackle, a guard, a center, whatever, like it's not that clear. A kicker who's this good, 27 for 28 last year, 96 percentile, distance, 52 long, which again, if we hit that a couple years ago, we won the national championship. As much as those guys want to go to country concerts and go on vacation and take some time off and relax or whatever, I'd fire them. I mean, if they don't bring this guy in, it's a wrap. Because again, the personnel guys I think are very overrated at Ohio State at this point because we have Brian Hartline who controls his own room. The tight ends coach controls his own room. Justin Fry, the running backs coach. So I don't really know what they do. If they don't bring in value in terms of bringing in portal guys, I don't know what their purpose is, other than just to collect checks and go hang out at country concerts. So I think that this is a guy who I've wanted. This is a guy I've mentioned ad nauseum on our podcast, and I didn't know his name. I just called him the Miami Redhawks kicker. I called him the Redskins kicker because that's what they used to call it when Randy Walker was there. But this is the guy that he could be the missing link for us to really go far. And again, he's a weapon. He's got a cannon for a leg. He's very accurate. Obviously, I don't know what his nerves are like because kicking in the MAC is way different from the Big Ten because all of a sudden you're kicking the games that people actually watch. Like nobody watches MAC football on Tuesday night. I mean, the 50 people that watch it on MACtion nights or whatever. But we haven't had an NFL kicker since Nugent. I mean, we had a lot of guys that have been kind of they've been good placeholders, and we had Aaron Petrie, who I loved, great kid, kicked for I think 1 week with the Bengals, but like since Nuge, it's been a dry spell. This kid's an NFL kicker. He's from Ohio, he's a Cincinnati kid. He's got a year left. He's got a lot of good mileage. He's not a guy who's only kicked in combines or kicked in camps. Like this guy's kicked in real games. He's been a 3-year starter at Miami of Ohio. Obviously, last year, when you're a kicker in the MAC and you win the Groza Award, like that is like climbing as far uphill as you can get because this is a guy that, frankly, like he doesn't get the cachet of kicking at LSU or Ohio State or Georgia or Florida. So he has to fight that hill. So his numbers are excessively important. And the fact that he was 27 for 28 last year, I mean, he was, again, first team All-American across about 80 publications, Gross Award winner. And he's a Cincinnati kid. So, again, as much as it'd be wonderful to get a tackle, again, from a realistic transfer portal perspective, this is my number one guy, and it's not even close. Now, again, we can always pray that some first round left tackle enters the portal and we get him, and we put Josh Simmons over at right tackle, and happy go lucky, amazing how we do. But in terms of realistic guys that are in the portal, he is my number one by far. Again, I played with Nugent. I know what a great field goal kicker can do. I know how demoralizing it is for an opposing defense when all of a sudden you got a guy that can hit a 55-yarder and put them out of their misery. So I'm excited about this kid. I mean, I think that if we miss on him, again, I'd fire the recruiting staff. I'd fire the collectives. I know that they'd like to go and hang out on the weekends and go to the beach and, go to the country concerts. But this is what you have those guys for. This is the last piece. Again, Quinshon Judkins was recruited by Trey Henderson. Will Howard was recruited by Ryan Day. A lot of these guys that were big time guys, Caleb Downs, obviously. Tim Walton did major work there. This is where you need your recruiting staff to step up and say, hey, this is the guy that can make the difference between us losing and winning because of the caliber of a kicker that he is. Nevada, we got a couple super chats. Any thoughts off that? Because I don't obsess about kickers because generally I hate kickers. I think they suck. But if you've got a guy like Mike Nugent, who I played with, he does not suck. He's a guy that was nails. He won us games. He was a guy that Mike Nugent was a great captain at Ohio State. And again, it's hard to be a captain when you're a kicker because you're a small dude, you're slight, you're not a leader. Again, I know that in generalities, like when you look at leaders, you usually taller guys, louder, more boisterous, more playing time. But Nuge was a great captain, and he was a guy that I looked up to, thought he did a great job. Was happy he had a great NFL career. But we have had a guy like him since 04. So this kid could be probably the best kicker we've had since Nugent. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, a couple things. One, while I think your point about not having the pressure playing in the MAC as opposed to like at Ohio State, great point. Great point, and that's the only countervening factor in terms of getting it. That'd be the only thing that you could say, well, what about? He hasn't answered this question about Howard's nerves. How can he play in front of 100,000 people? Hasn't done that. But what I like about him playing the MAC is, he's kicked in weather. He's kicked in bad weather. It's not like he's just some kid that's down in the South or that's someone that's played, he's played in a dome or something like that. This kid's kicked in weather. He's played in bad stadiums on bad fields and still managed just to absolutely ball out. And the fact that he's an Ohio kid, again, he gets it. So that's what I love. And for me, look, one of the worst memories of my life is the '86 Michigan game when we played for a couple of reasons. One, I wrote this on their board today, but one is I forgot my jacket. I had a sweatshirt and I didn't bring my jacket. And I was walking, this is back in the days when I parked way away from the stadium. And I was walking and I'm like, I don't really want to walk back. It was kind of a nice day. It was a night. People remember that that was the day that Harbaugh had guaranteed their victory when he was the quarterback. And I'm like, I don't want to walk back. And it's really nice. I don't think I'll need a jacket. So I'm sitting there. And then it was fine for 3 quarters. And then the sun went behind the back of the stadium, and I went into the shade, and the temperature dropped about 80 degrees. You know what I'm saying? I felt like it was in Antarctica at that point. And I think it was Matt France missed a field goal at the end of that thing, which would have pulled out an absolute amazing, would have shoved that guarantee up Harbaugh's nose, would have earned Ohio State a trip to the Rose Bowl. And we missed a kick. So, look, kicking, to me it's one of the most underrated things. I've never understood why Ohio State doesn't, put more resources into it. And this is the perfect opportunity to remedy that. And if you don't know Ohio State, I'd look at it this way. It's like buying schmuck insurance. You know what I'm saying? Like, do you really want to go into the season and have somewhere in the back of your mind the fact that we had a chance to go out and get the best kicker in the country and we didn't, and somehow somewhere down the line you miss a big field goal and you think about that like the rest of your life? Because that's basically what happened. You miss an opportunity like that, like you miss an opportunity like we did against Georgia, you never forget that. You think about that the rest of your life. Does Ohio State, does Ryan Day, in the biggest season of life, does he really want to leave anything to chance? If it was me, this is the no-brainer of no-brainer. I'd have this kid in the car. I'd send Burt Carton down there with the minivan, pick him up, drive him out there to Columbus, and he'd be a Buckeye tomorrow. But that's if I was running the collectives, and sadly I'm not.
So our collectives suck because you're not running them. But like
I,
my thing is go ahead.
Now,
You
the
respond to
collective's
that.
been good. The collectives they've done some work, but they need to do it one more time. This is the one we need. That don't spend the money on Victor Cutler. Go spend the money on this guy. It's money well spent. Great insurance and great insurance for all of us fans. It's going to be an unbelievable 2024.
Is that code for the you weren't invited to dinners at Jeffrey Reese that you're being so kind?
Yes. Yeah. Like those pictures, it's so tone deaf when you show pictures of you guys eating and toasting with the big wine and the big, $500 steaks and stuff like that. That is not what people want to give their money to, get collective guys. Like, I'm just telling you, they don't want to spend it on steaks. They don't want to spend it on second mink coats. Even if you're giving that to them, like, just like try to be a little bit smarter about how you present this stuff. And I think that you'll get more money from people, but that's Nevada's free advice for the day.
A second mink coat.
Second mink
Who,
coat.
a second mink coat. Who would ever do such a thing?
CJ
That's
Stroud,
crazy.
two mink coats.
Two mink coats. Um, my thing about it is, it's like, look, we've spent money on so many bad players. Like, to get a guy who won a major award at his position, who's from Ohio, and went to my Ohio. And again, I tell people every time, and again, you guys can sit around and say, Kirk, you're crazy. You have no idea what you're talking about. You have no clue. No kid on this earth dreams of playing at Miami of Ohio. But through the magic of the transfer portal, if a kid goes to Miami of Ohio and he balls out and he wins a national award over, he won that award over when you win the Lou Groza, there's only one guy that wins that. When you're the All-American kicker on Walter Camp and AP, like, it's like you're the only guy. It's not like there's two tackles or two guards or two DNs or two D tackles. He's the guy. So, he's from Cincinnati, and we whiffed impossibly bad on this kid. And he's blossomed into an NFL kicker, and we have a chance to get him. And again, I talk in realism, because if you say, Kirk, we could get this kid or maybe someone that enters in the next 10 days, it's like, give me this kid. Because again, I think the line's going to be fine. I think the O-line's going to be fine. And I also don't think that there's a guy who's going to enter the portal in the next 10 days who's going to be a massive upgrade at tackle or guard for the current line. I think the current line's going to be fine. I think they'll do a good job. Do I think that it's 5 Orlando Paces? No. But I think that they'll be good. They'll be good enough for us to win a national championship. But the kicker is a humongous upgrade. And again, if I'm Ryan and all these other guys, all these other idiots that are, again, everyone's off right now. All the players are off. They get to go home. They get to go to Aruba, whatever. I mean, spring break, finals are over. Like, I don't know what would be more important than getting this kicker, because he's really, really good. And again, adding an NFL kicker to Ryan Day's offense this year, it just makes it like when you have that faux pas and Will Howard doesn't have the right read, or he's inaccurate, or we get stopped on 3rd and 5 or whatever, like, you bring this kicker out and you're guaranteed 3 points because he's got a cannon. He's accurate. He missed 1 field goal last year. And I think it'd be a huge edge to this offense. Because again, like with Mike Nugent, you have to understand, we sucked. I mean, I'm talking, we sucked on offense in 04. But with Nuge, if we got it inside, the whatever, like, I mean, with inside of 60, Tressa can kick that field goal. And Nugent's probably going to make it. He made a 55-yarder to beat Marshall. Again, like, so getting a guy like that who's got that kind of weaponry, that kind of range, in Ryan's offense with Chip Kelly, it'll be insane. Because again, I go back to this, but we lost the national title because we couldn't make a 47-yard field goal, which again, at Ohio State, which is the best offense in the country, it's almost insane that you can't get a kicker that can hit that, but it's kind of where we was. We got a couple super chats about it. Any rebuttals before we get into these chats?
No, I agree with you. I like I said, if you said we can get this guy, but that's the end of the portal season for Ohio State. No, so no matter how else who comes in the portal, and we're out of money, we're out of time, we're out of effort. Like you get like one card. I'm telling you, I would play it on this kid. I literally would. I would do it, and I would shut down my collectives for the rest of the thing if we had to. Now I don't believe that's Ohio State's position. I don't believe we're down to our last dollar. But if we were, this is where I would spend it. So I'm 100% with you.
I mean, like, again, and I say that kind of facetiously, but it's like people keep dreaming of this first team All American tackle that hits the portal and he jumps in at left tackle, right tackle, bombs Josh Ryan, but I don't see it. Again, I mean, I was evaluating like last night. God bless you guys, but that kid from Colorado who played Kansas City from St. V was terrible. And again, those are a lot of the guys that you get. Like right now, like in the portal, you get a lot of guys that are bounce backs that were 5 stars, 4 stars. They go somewhere, they suck. Like Cormani McLean, like he sucks. If Cormani McLean came to Ohio State tomorrow, who was a 5-star, #1 overall corner in the country by On3 and every other recruiting service, he sucks. He's got a terrible attitude. I mean, he could play for college. Again, you don't have to trust me on it. Like Deion Sanders is the greatest cornerback who's ever played football in the history of mankind. He's the best cornerback in the history of the game. And Cormani McLean, when they had the 150th defense last year, couldn't start for him. So you tell me, who knows more about anything than Deion when they've got the worst defense in the history of mankind and Cormani's standing there, sucking a pacifier and on the sideline. So, there's a lot of guys that bounce back who would have been attractive takes coming out of their recruiting season in their signing classes. But man, you look at how these guys react to being trash as freshmen. And again, there's a lot of guys that are like that. They're the bee's knees until they play real players. And like Romani showed up at Colorado. Colorado sucked. Obviously, they went like 2-0 and they were the toast at the top. But then they played SC and got ran out of the. They played Oregon, lost by 1,000 points, and all those guys all of a sudden don't want to really like to play football anymore. Cremani the same way. So a kid like this, who I think would be instant impact, he's an Ohio kid. This is the lowest hanging fruit you could ever get for a major trophy winner for probably as long as I live. This would be like if some 3-star offensive lineman, we skipped on him and he went to Kentucky and then he turned into the Lombardi winner and then he entered the portal. Like this is like that kind of a thing. Like this kid is, he wants to be a Buckeye. I think we have a shot to make him a Buckeye. Nevada, any final thoughts? And we'll get into we have a bunch of super chats popping up.
No, just I completely agree. I think Ohio State's got to get on it and not dawdle any longer and make it happen. This is an important one. To me, it's the last missing piece. I've said that. You've asked me like, what's my question mark? And I'm like, not right tackle, not defensive line, not tight end. It's place kicker. I've said that many, many times. And now this guy's available. It's like, go get it done, man. No brainer.
Yeah, I mean, my thing is this is like taking Justin Tucker in like the 12th round of your fantasy draft, where it's like you're taking a guy who's the best kicker in the league. He's got a cannon for a leg. And like, what's the downside to taking him early when you can start him every week? And that's what this kid is. He's the best kicker in the country. He's from Miami of Ohio. He grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio. Probably wanted to be a Buckeye. And, we fumbled the bag like idiots, like per usual. And we have a chance to make that right. That's the beauty of the transfer portal is when you miss out a kid, especially an in-state kid, and you can bring him back. Like, where else would he rather play at than part of the most dynamic offense in the country with the 2 best play callers in the country between Ryan Day and Chip Kelly? All right, we're going to get into these super chats. Jeremy Moreland, thanks for being alternating for the 5. If we can get here we go, an offensive tackle, and I assume that means offensive guard, we would be set. Nevada OH.
I don't
know. I mean, I feel good about where we're at. I don't think we need any of those guys, but again, like it's like, taking a guard tackle. It's one thing if there was a guy out there that was like a immediate upgrade, clear as day. But most of the guys that enter right now are projects. They're guys that they couldn't start where they were. I haven't seen a guy enter the portal on the offensive line where I'm like, that's the guy we need to cement everything. But again, I could be dead wrong. Maybe I don't have eyeballs. Maybe I don't study this stuff. But there isn't a guy out there like this kicker. If he shows up, automatic All American, automatic starter. There isn't an offensive lineman in the entire portal that is anywhere near that. But Nevada, am I wrong? And again, like there's a pie in the sky on the kid from Boston College. There's pie in the sky on other kids, but I study the portal pretty proficiently just because for us to do this podcast, we have to be up on everything that's going on. But I haven't seen a guy in the O line where I was just like, oh my god, if we get him, he'll start immediately and help us. But your thoughts?
Yeah, I think those are so rare. I think, it's what you dream about, in terms of happening, but it just, it's not there. You know what I'm saying? Like that, like just wishing, that's like, wishing isn't a strategy, just wishing that some magical kid comes into the portal that's going to be able to come in and step in and be an immediate upgrade and not clean out your room. And, because again, we've talked about it all the time. You bring in a kid from the portal, there is an impact that there's some guys you're going to lose. You're going to lose some of your culture. I mean, there's stuff that's going to happen to you when you do that. Now with kicker, it's like, man, it's a kicking competition. May the best guy win. And, if Fielding's better than this guy and he can kick more reliably than this guy, then God bless him. That's great. That's absolutely fantastic. That's what you want. You want to be in that position where you've got two great kickers or somebody else that can kind of help and do the things. But to have a chance to get the Lou Groza winner, to have a chance to get that's an Ohio kid, especially when it's not like field goal kicking the last couple of years has been some sort of team strength. And we all know it's been a little bit of a mystery. It's been a little bit of a, one of those enigmas, like we're never sure what we're going to get. This is a chance to kind of remedy that. And I just think it's insurance, man. And why do you take out insurance? You take out insurance because you're afraid of what could possibly happen. And you don't want it to happen, but in case it does, you want to make sure you have the insurance. And this would be cheap insurance for Ryan Day going into 2024. And I hope they buy the policy.
Yeah, I do too. It's gonna be very interesting to see what they do. I agree. All right, Kevin. Thank you for the 5. Do you think if Will Martin and Devin Brown are even, that it's a lot easier to start Howard because there's a less chance you lose San? Nevada OH. I think Will Howard's a starter. I think it's over. I think and Devin. I have nothing against Devin, but based on what I've been told, I think it's a wrap. And I think that and again, Ryan Day is not a dummy. Ryan's a guy who is he's a smart guy, he's a sharp guy. But that being said, he's the guy that also wants to get the most out of his roster, get the most out of his team. And like if hearts are made to be broken, it's gonna happen. But when he was on the mic saying that Julian has to be ready to play against Oregon and Michigan and Penn State, like that, if I'm one of those backup quarterbacks or I'm one of their fathers, I'm just like, well, it's obvious who he wants the backup quarterback to be when he's saying those guys have to be ready to play against our best teams. So I think it's Will Howard and then Devin, maybe Lincoln, and then Julian for sure. Julian is written in the plans in ink, and then we'll see what the rest is going on. But Nevada, what are your thoughts? Do you think if Howard and Brown are even, that it's a lot easier to start Howard because there's a less chance you lose San? I don't think Julian Sands going anywhere. I don't think Will Howard's going anywhere. And those are the two quarterbacks I feel the most confident being on our roster when camp starts. But your thoughts?
No, I think it's a great point. I think those are the types of things that you got to be concerned about in the portal era. Is kind of what's the path to the field? Where does it go? Obviously, we can talk about all the other factors why Will Howard should be the starting quarterback: his experience, his running ability, his proven durability. I mean, there's a lot of other reasons, but no, the hypothesis was if they're exactly even, do you start the senior so that Sands looks at it and you sees a wide open quarterback derby the next year? I think it's smart. I think that's got to be part of the equation at every position right now when you're doing it. But we both know that things are never exactly even. But if they were, yeah, I think it makes sense to do it because saying is the future, and you want the future to stay around as long as possible. And if Devin was a starter, maybe saying like, man, I don't want to sit around for 2 years or 3 years or whatever it is. So no, I think it's spot on.
Yeah, I totally agree. McCone, muscle training for the 10. What is the likelihood Dallin Hayden returns to the portal like Bryson Rogers? No chance. He's gone. And again, Dallin Hayden has been lied to more than any player I think I've ever seen in the history of Ohio State football. So if I'm Dallin, his parents, like, I'm with it. I'm all good. Last spring game last year, they went to Tony Alford's son's dance recital and sat there and talked and hunky dory and hey, Dallin's got a chance to start this year and play some significant minutes. And then, they go out and they get Quinshon Judkins. They get Trey Henderson back.
Trayshawn?
So
Did you
yeah,
just say Trayshawn?
that's gonna be
Wow.
our nickname for the whole backfield. Is Trayshawn. It'll be
Yeah.
Quinshon and Trey morphed together. So the
Yeah.
Trayshawn backfield, that'll be a T-shirt that you guys can wear to the next Buckeye Scoop meetup. You'll have the
Massive.
Trayshawn shirts, massive Trayshawn. It'll be absolutely amazing. It'll be absolutely crazy. But I'm just saying, like, when you tell these kids, well, Trey's gonna leave to go to the league, and then Quinshon's not even in the picture, and then all of a sudden those guys stay and show up, then it's not great. So Dallin has been lied to more than any human being I've ever seen in my life at Ohio State. And I think there's no chance he comes back. And again, we'll be fine. Like, I mean, somehow magically we were able to complete spring ball without Tony Alford, without Dallin. Obviously, we've got James People, so I think it's fantastic. And the portal will be very active next year. If we lose, which we'll lose the Trey Sean, which is AKA Quinshon, Trey Henderson. James Peoples is a very capable first overall running back, and we'll add 2 or 3 running backs via recruiting. We'll be fine at running back. I don't sweat it, and we'll be active in the portal. Nevada, for a good laugh, what is the likelihood that Dallin Hayden returns to the portal a la Bryson Rogers?
Yeah, no, I think Dallin's gone, and that's fine. I've always felt that Dallin was just a guy, and that is not a bag on Dallin Hayden. I just think he's fine. I think there's guys like Dallin Hayden in every recruiting class. I've said that every time. I think he's fine. Um, I I think we're going to be fine with James Peoples and anybody else who's in our running back room. I think we're going to be fine. And I think Coach Locke will go do a good job getting guys in terms of replacing them. But no, I think that ship sailed. And like I said, I hope Dallin goes out and balls out because he's really he didn't get the best treatment at Ohio State. I don't think it was fair what happened to him. But sometimes life isn't fair, and sometimes you got to go elsewhere and make your mark, and hopefully he does that.
Well, I mean, the funny thing is he's going to see Coach Prime in Colorado, which is, again, of all the places I've ever sent my kid. And again, I used to love Deion as a player growing up, but his college football operation is the worst I've ever seen. And again, I wanted him to win, but he acts like such a douchebag consistently that, again, as much as he was one of my favorite players of all time, my favorite cornerback of all time, like, what he does to these kids is just impossibly bad, where he blames the O-line for everything. He goes in the portal. And again, there's a reason why it's not just kids. Kids are running for the hills in the portal, but coaches are leaving in mass because they see what's going on. They're just like, God bless. I can't be a part of this because it's going to be impossibly bad for my career. Wade, what's up, brother? I sent you an email, barton.145@gmail. Resend the email that you meant to send me. Appreciate you, my man. Thanks for the 5. I saw a headline with Nevada's boy, the sign master, Mean Gene Smith, implying he is the reason NIL blew up. Are you buying that, Nevada? He's just trying to stay relevant until July. Do you believe that NIL blew up because of Mean Gene Smith? When he said that he was he went crazy or berserk trying to build this team because we've sucked in the Big Ten the last 3 years. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it was cringy. Just that whole thing, that whole exchange was cringy, and uh, I just look. I'm not a fan of Gene Smith. I know there's fans of Gene Smith out there. I've had firsthand person to person business dealings with him where he's not very intelligent. He's not an honorable guy. I don't think he's been some sort of wonderful attribute for Ohio State athletics, and people can feel differently, and that's fine. But I'm glad he's gone. And I thought the whole thing about him kind of flexing up, like, oh, I laid the hammer down for 2024, and that's why we're good. Um, that was typical Gene Smith, and like I said, I'll I can't wait for the Ross Bjork era to start because it's going to be better. It's got to be better. And bye, Gene. We appreciate you, but I'm glad you're gone. Are you muted, Mr. Barton?
Uh, I apologize, but Gene Smith says he went berserk uh, with Ohio State's budget to end the championship drought. And again, you know, maybe he did. Well, where's the money been the last 5 years where we haven't had Chip Kelly as our OC and we haven't had James Laurinaitis as we haven't had a linebackers coach? Um, because Ohio State football brings in more money than all the other sports combined. We have 36 sports at Ohio State. Football brings in more money than every other sport combined from a gross perspective. So, I don't know where he was waiting. And then, I think he was also alluding to the fact, like with NIL, where, like he went in the drought because he spent like crazy and put Ross Burke in a hole. But I'm like, when you've got JJ Smith and Caleb Downs and Quinshon Judkins, like that's pure the foundation. That's pure Brian Schottenstein. It's pure those guys raising money. Because again, our athletic department actively hurts our collectives. They don't share their donor list. They don't share funds. So, again, and again, this isn't again in all fairness, like again, I don't fault Gene for that because the athletic director and the athletic department, they're fighting over the same money that the collectives are fighting over. So they're going to go to the same donors and say, hey, I need 1 million. Hey, I need 5 million. Hey, I need 10 million to make things work. And, like, well, what do I give to? Do I give to the collective or do I give to Ohio State? And, that's kind of where we're at right now. But like, I mean, Gene said he went berserk. I'm like, dude, like Ryan Day went berserk. Ryan Day's the guy that hired all these guys. And, you also gave a 2nd-year deal to Parker Fleming, who's worthless for the worst coach in Ohio State history. You gave guys raises that frankly had no markets. So again, just because you went berserk and you spent like a stupid moron doesn't mean that you have anything to do with it. And I'm sure that people will say, well, he's the reason why we did whatever. But I'm like, Chip Kelly came because of Ryan. Jim Knowles is already here. Matt Guarini got a pay cut versus Perry Eliano. And then, the rest of it is kind of is what it is. But the big reason the spending went down is because of NIL and the collectives. And that's why we got Caleb Downs and Will Howard and Quinshon Judkins and a bunch of these guys that are going to be starters for us to be have big time roles for us. So, like, I don't know. Is it self-fulfilling to say that you went berserk and I left Ross Bjork in a hole because I spent so much money on football? Probably. I think it's mostly you being a douchebag. But where's the spending been the last 3 years when we wasted CJ Stroud's career, Paris Johnson's career? I mean, we had all these guys that went top 10, top 2 in the draft, never beat Michigan, never had a real offensive coordinator. And where was the spending then? I mean, we wasted some of the most talented teams in school history because they didn't have Jim Knowles. They didn't have a great coaching staff. They had Kerry Combs, who, again, had never called a play in his life before he got to Ohio State. And it looked like it. He was atrocious as a coordinator. So, again, that's my opinion. And people could say you're being harsh, big meanie, but I just look at results and that's it. So, it is funny that he's hilariously attaching himself to what Ross Bjork has to dig out of, but I think Ross Bjork's going to be he's going to be about the life. He's going to do a good job. W Buckeye, I think for the 10, puke, puke, puke. After listening to Mr. Hole from the Michigan Wire today on Big Ten Radio, I am astonished. They're talking dynasty for the football team. Sad thing is they believe it. They are not good. Nevada, I don't even have words for that, but, you know, like a dynasty for Michigan at this point, it seems like the most insane proposition of all time. But I'd love your thoughts on that. Is there a chance that Michigan could become a dynasty after Jim Harbaugh leaves?
No, look, they're going to be bad. And for all you Michigan fans that are listening to the show, and I know we get them because we get all these comments and things from people that listen to the show, Michigan fans. You guys are so stupid. You guys really are the stupidest, most delusional fan base in all of college football. It's over. It's over for you guys. And no team, you can't not recruit. You can't lose your entire coaching staff. You can't lose all your start and then go on and be good. It's not the way it works. And so for Michigan, you had a great run. You cheated. You had an experienced coach. You apparently had a really good quarterback that nobody really knew how good he was until the NFL draft. And you had a bunch of fifth and sixth year guys, a lot of veterans. You executed your game plan well, and you won some football games. And you caught college football in really a down year last year. And you guys were the worst national champion since BYU in '84, and it happened. So congrats, but it's over. The idea that you're dynastic, you can't have a dynasty without consistently great recruiting. You just can't. And you can't have a dynasty without like superior coaching staff. You need to have an advantage at every level. Sharon Moore is the next Nick Saban. Come on. I mean, Sharon Moore is going to be the next unemployed coach in college football. That's what he's going to be. And you're recruiting right now. You've got 1 4-star and 1 3-star. Your recruiting stinks. So you guys are circling the drain. And this is before the NCAA hits you. So no, dynasty, no. It's time to wake up from your nap, Michigan fans, but because it's all over. And I'm sorry to be the one to burst the bubble, but somebody's got to do it, and that's why I'm here.
Totally agree. Pooh Beard 12, thank you for being an ultra for the 5. What do you make of reports that Scum QB room is a mess? I doubt the QBs are legit, but the Scum beat is also wrong about literally everything. I mean, I fully expect Alex Orji to be the starting quarterback. Again, he did work against us last year as a runner, but you can figure out running quarterbacks pretty quick. I don't think much of JJ McCarthy, but I might be the only person in the world that doesn't have him as a top 10-ish type pick. But, if Michigan's losing a top 10 pick at quarterback and they could barely beat us when we had the worst quarterback that we've had in 30 years in Kyle McCord, then what's going to happen when we actually have a good quarterback? And they don't have a guy to the level of JJ McCarthy. So I could see that room being a mess. Again, Sharon Moore has had the worst offseason I've ever seen for a defending national champion. They lost. Jim Harbaugh rated the coaching staff, rated the strength room staff. He's had a D-line coach get an OVI. Mike Hart quit on him. He had his top personnel guy, or he had Denard Robinson, a personnel guy, get an OVI. It's been insane. So again, I just think that like people that don't realize like what turnover does to a staff, it just drains the culture. Like if you've got an incredible culture that Jim Harbaugh built, and then all of a sudden everybody leaves, like 10 out of 11 coaches leave, then that culture goes right out the door with them. Like you have to rebuild that whole thing. And a lot of these coaches have kind of stabbed them in the back because they haven't acted right. And it puts a lot of egg on your face when all of a sudden, Mike Hart leaves. Mike Hart didn't leave to go work for an NFL team or Jim Harbaugh with the Chargers. He literally left just to go to the ether. So it's going to be fascinating to see what he can do. But that quarterback room is a mess. Again, I think it's going to be Alex Orji. That's going to have to stop. But running quarterbacks when you're ready for them are easy to stop, especially when they can't throw and they don't have the weaponry that they had last year or the O-line that they had last year. Nevada, your thoughts. Poopier 12 asks, what do you make of reports that the scum QB room is a mess? I doubt those QBs are legit, but the scum beat is also wrong about literally everything. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, whatever the Michigan beat is telling you, I would literally go the opposite way, and you would probably be batting 99%. So I don't put much stock in those reports. I just don't think Orgy's very good. And good luck coming up there when you're going to be breaking in 5 new offensive linemen. I mean, when you look at the returning offensive production that Michigan has this year, it's so bad. It's like literally like 126 out of 130 teams. Or so. It's amazing how little they're returning, how little experience, and it just speaks to they had a really, really, really veteran team last year, and when you combine a veteran team with the fact that you were cheating, you know, they snuck in and they won the championship, but the party's over. So now it's over. Now they got to go out and play without the cheating, without the experienced staff, without the veteran players, and it's going to be bad. And and more than just talk, I'm going to say it once again. You can profit from this. Bet the proposition on regular season wins under 9.5 for Michigan. That is easy money, guys. Go take the money. Nevadabuck is trying to give the money to you. Go take the money. Michigan's gonna. There's no way they're gonna win 10 games in the regular season. I'm just telling you, no chance. So bet Michigan under 9.5 wins regular season, and say thank you to Mr. Nevadabuck.
Mr. Nevada, thank you for that free tip. What a great day. Wade,
Yes.
what's up, brother? Appreciate you, my man. Thanks for the 10. I agree with Nevadabuck on Gene Smith and don't think he had anything to do with NIL. And I think it's a dumb statement when there is a cheating scandal in Ann Arbor that's more responsible for a lack of a Big Ten championship. Nevada, your thoughts on Gene Smith? Because again, like he came out and said, I spent basically like through the nose to ensure that the Big Ten championship returned to Ohio State. It hasn't. But this offseason, between the coaching salaries and all the other ancillary expenses, he feels like he's a big part of that. What are your thoughts? Do you think that it's overblown, especially when it's tied to NIL? And do you think it's a dumb statement when there is a cheating scandal in Ann Arbor?
Well, I think it's a dumb look. You know how I feel about this, about people flexing, about spending other people's money. First of all, it wasn't Gene's money, so this isn't like Gene, is like Smog from the Hobbit movies, and he pulled out some of his money from Scrooge McDuck from his thing, and I spent all my gold on this to help Ohio State be better. He's spending Ohio State's money. So the idea that Gene is flexing about spending somebody else's money, I just find so distasteful in the first place. But secondly, look, this was about the collective going out there and raising money, raising big money from donors in terms of doing it. And when you talk to them and you mention, say, hey, did Gene Smith do this? They would laugh at you. That would be an absolutely laughable proposition that he was doing that. And, sure, I think any of those statements, it's a self-indictment, because if you're saying, oh yeah, I'm spending it now, to your point, then why weren't you spending it before, Gene? What's changed? Why, you were cheaping out, you were clipping coupons before, and that's why we lost. So shame on you. I don't like Gene Smith. I've never liked Gene Smith. I'm glad Gene Smith is gone. And for Ohio State fans that feel differently, I respect that, and that's fine. But I would question you: have you ever had a direct interaction with Gene Smith? I have had a direct interaction with Gene Smith, and I don't find him to be honorable. And so, what else can you say? That's the worst thing you can say about somebody in business, and I'm saying it about Gene Smith. So that's all I got to say.
Well, I don't think he's honorable. I also don't think he's intelligent. So it's one of those things where it's a double whammy. But we've dealt with Gene. I've known Gene since '05 when he showed up on the job. He never built a new football building. So again, you guys say, "Oh, Kirk and Nevada are haters," but like, did he ever take care of football? No. Do we ever get a new building? No. Do we build a building for every other non-revenue sport in the universe? Yes. New crew building, new basketball building, new wrestling building, new volleyball building, new baseball building, renovations to every stadium in the world except for Ohio Stadium. Again, if you want something hilarious, look at the screenshot that's floating around the internet of when they put Urban on at the spring game last Saturday, and they showed like the scaffolding falling down, wires dangling. I mean, it was as embarrassing. We looked like a third world country because, again, Ohio State doesn't care. They're so big and bad. They're Ohio State's, but it's like they don't care about their consumers. They don't care about aesthetics. They don't care about a good game experience. And I've talked at length about people. They go to Blue Jackets games, Cavalier games, like Browns games. Like Ohio State football has the worst experience by far. And again, that's a reflection of the ownership, the leadership, because they just don't care. So if they actually put some effort and some elbow grease into it, I think it'd be fantastic. But again, it starts at the top, and that's it's kind of where we're at. Nevada, we got a big nugget tomorrow dropping on grades for some of the offensive players. Some really good players had really good springs. Emeka and Carnell led the way. Josh Simmons was fantastic. What were your thoughts? A little preview before the Buckeye Scoop Nugget drops tomorrow. Your thoughts on the offensive grades?
Yeah, I don't want to give it away too much because, like I said, we break everything on BuckeyeScoop.com and then discuss it on the podcast. But I think on the I think what surprised me, I wouldn't say surprised me, but was a pleasant revelation after the spring game was how good a shape we are on the offensive line. I think we've got some dudes on the offensive line. I think we've got some alternatives on the offensive line. We've got some alternative lineups on the offensive line that can work, and we've got some depth on the offensive line. And I think those are all really positive things heading into this year, which, again, not to bury the lead, which takes us back to our initial premise of the show, which is, to me, more so than tackle, more so than tight end, more so than anything, go get me that Lou Groza first-team All-American kicker, and I'll be happy because I really think we're set in the other spots. I think we've got some guys that have stepped up and done some nice things and displayed some veteran leadership. Had really good productive sprints, graded out really well in their productive springs, and again, not that this is anything, but we missed a field goal in the spring game. Is that anything? No, but give me the kicker that never misses field goals. That's what you're getting with this guy. I think you said he was 27 of 28 or something like that. That's just an absurd stat, and that's who I want kicking field goals for Ohio State, and I hope Ohio State goes out and gets them. Are you muted again, Mr. Barton?
Yeah, I apologize. Nevada, we could wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts as we head off into our Fridays?
No, just appreciate everybody being here. Appreciate everybody coming over from Buckeye Scoop. If you give a chance to give us a like on this video, I'd really appreciate it on your way out the door. It really helps other people find it. The algorithm's been really strong with the likes. So anything you can do it's free. Hit that little thumbs up button. Give us a like on the way out the door, and thank you so much for listening.
Totally agree. Let's wrap this thing up. Appreciate you guys. It's a Friday night. I appreciate you guys kicking with us. We are a little bit shorter on Friday, so you guys can spend some time with your family. So, big add potentially to the portal with a kicker jumping into the deal. I think he'd be the difference maker in us going from good to great. You add the number one kicker in the country to the number one offense in the country. I think it's going to be humongous, and I think it'll be something that I think our fans would be excited about. Again, nobody gets excited about a kicker until you have a great kicker. Like when we had Mike Nugent, he was electricity. He was absolutely awesome when he was part of the team. So I think that's where this kid could go. And again, if you're this kid, how do you not want to kick in the number one offense in the country? In your great state. He's an Ohio kid, so it makes a lot of sense. It'd be fantastic if it gets done, so hopefully we get this done. With that being said, I appreciate you guys so much. I hope you guys are having a great start to your weekend. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, that helps grow the show. The show is growing at a very crazy level right now, so we appreciate you guys. Next meetup should be announced in the next couple of weeks. We're working on that, formulating that. And we would love to see you guys out and about somewhere. Because, again, I know that you guys had a great time last Saturday. It's crazy. A week flew by. We're 6 days out from our meetup, and what an amazing meetup it was. It was fantastic. But I look forward to seeing you guys very shortly. So, as always, thank you guys so much. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. Hope you guys have a great Friday with your family, your friends. I will see you guys again tomorrow night, probably 7. It'll be good to go, and we'll be ready to rock and roll with you guys. Hopefully, this kicker will be committed by then. So, with that being said, again, appreciate you guys. Hope you guys have a great Friday night. Go Bucks.